Welcome to Ask the First Selectman. Our guest, John Zagrodzky, here to answer your questions. This question was submitted anonymously. It asked, what is the status of the Blight Review Board's plans to foreclose on two properties in town? What does foreclosure actually mean? Does it mean demolition of those buildings? And are there more foreclosures coming?
Great question. So the Blight Review Board is an important board, and they are charged with enforcing the town's blight ordinances. And we have ordinances in place that say that your property needs to be maintained to a certain standard. And so what the Blight Review Board does, working with a blight prevention officer, his name is Hank Ferentz, and so they work with that officer to identify properties that are not meeting our blight requirements and to work with those homeowners to try to get compliance with our blight rules. So the foreclosure process that we've been talking about for the two homes that were recently foreclosed, a lot of effort went in before that day ever came to work with those homeowners to get them in compliance with our blight rules. So this entailed reaching out to the homeowners, spending time with them in person, going to the property, helping them understand what the requirements were, every bit of outreach that we could possibly engage in. At some point, the Blight Review Board began to impose fines on those homeowners when, after an extended period of non-compliance, there was still no compliance forthcoming. The next tool in their toolkit was to impose fines. And in the cases of the two houses that we just foreclosed on, those fines were in the tens of thousands of dollars. A lot of money had accumulated over a long period of time of non-compliance. So after all that period of time and just allowing those fines to accumulate, the third and final option, final tool that the Blight Review Board has in its toolkit is to recommend foreclosure, which is something that the Board of Selectmen actually decides. And through that foreclosure process, we essentially deprive the homeowner of that property, and that's really what foreclosure means. So the next step in that process is for the attorneys, which they are working on right now for the two properties that were foreclosed, was to work with the courts to file a case and move it forward. A foreclosure is a litigation, if you will, whereby we will present that case and a judge will decide what the next steps are with regard to that particular property. If you will, as I said, it's the ultimate tool in the toolkit for forcing compliance with these laws. But it's not a tool that we use until we've exhausted every other possibility to try to get compliance. I'm not sure exactly what's next with the Blight Review Board, but they have taken the position that they will begin to recommend foreclosure to enforce our blight rules. Those rules are there to protect everyone, both the homeowner as well as the neighbors who have paid a lot of money to live in this town and have a reasonable expectation that we would enforce those blight rules. My view is that if the Blight Review Board submits a recommended foreclosure, I will support it on the Board of Selectmen. I believe that, A, we need to enforce our blight rules, but I also agree with the Blight Review Board that they've taken time to work with homeowners as much as possible. And I know that if a case gets to the Board of Selectmen for foreclosure, that they have spared no effort to try to get compliance and that foreclosure really was a last resort. As far as additional properties, if they have been out of compliance for an extended period of time and the owner has not been able to comply with those blight rules, which have been very clear for a long period of time, they are likely to recommend foreclosure, and I will support any such recommendation.
If you have a question for our first selectman, send it along to us and we will ask it on your behalf. Just email us at DarianTV79@gmail.com.